2 years. This morning, Pat finally gets a call from an agency asking her to come to Atlanta for an audition interview. She's also recently made a contact to the actor, Burt Reynolds, who happens to spend much of his time in Atlanta, and Pat has decided to try to find Mr. Reynolds in hopes of furthering her career.
I really have honestly thought that I think the man will fall in love with me. I really say that. He may think I'm nothing but a real twerp when he meets me. That's what Chris thought of me when he first met me. He thought, what a little twerp. And Burt Reynolds may think that about me. But he also may really fall in love with me. I'm not saying I'm going to fall in love with him on a sexual basis. But he will fall in love with me and I'll fall in love with him. Like seriously, I'm not trying to sound, but just really like brothers and sisters. Really, I mean that. I really mean that.
We make it to Atlanta, and Pat and I are staying with Lee, a friend of Pat's from high school, who's also pursuing an acting career.
Hi, Jim Whittington told me that I could call you. You know Jim? Okay, the reason is I'm an actress in New York City, but I'm from Salisbury, where Jim lives. And he told me that you have contacts to Burt Reynolds movies. So you do personally know him yourself. Great. And so, like, you've already been in some of his movies? Uh-huh. Well, is there any way, like, I could meet you so you'd know who you were talking to? Because I really would love to get in one of his movies.
Undismayed by their setback, Pat and Lee prepare for their audition interviews.
Let's just run out all our nervous energy.
Lee,
Huh?
you better start getting out here and getting ready.
What image do I want to come across as?
Angie?
Dickerson. Burt's in town, you know.
Is he?
Back rack.
Oh.
Not Reynolds. Told you.
This is Peachtree Creek Battleground, located about a mile from where Pat and I are staying. Almost 6,000 soldiers died here in about 2 hours fighting over a piece of land not much bigger than a Little League baseball field. Now there's not much here, just a few markers. Sherman aside, I'm disconcerted to find myself in competition with the likes of Burt Reynolds. A sort of creeping psychosexual despair begins to overtake me. But suddenly I hear on the radio that Burt Reynolds himself is in town, shooting his next picture. I decide to see if I can find him and film him. After doing some research, I locate the production crew's motel, and as I drive up, I spot Burt Reynolds himself, standing all alone. I cannot believe it. He tries to slip away, but I follow him. Much to my surprise, when I ask him if I can film him, he says yes, he'd be delighted to be filmed. He's very cooperative. The only trouble is, he's not Burt Reynolds. His name is Randy, and for 2 days he's been trying to get work as a stand-in for Mr. Reynolds. Do you have many women come up and ask you for autographs and pester you and things like that?
Yeah, a whole lot. I won't lie. A whole lot of women come up and ask me if I'm Burt Reynolds or if I'm a stuntman or a double or something like that. But I always have to tell them no, so maybe now, in the next 15 minutes, I will be his double or his stuntman.
Yeah. What time is it now? Quarter till 1?
Quarter to 1.
Yeah.
And we're still staying here. What's it, 8 hours and 45 minutes? I've been at this hotel waiting for him.
We wait until 3 in the morning, but the real Burt Reynolds never shows up. The Confederacy officially died here in my hometown of Charlotte, North Carolina. Jefferson Davis, President of the Confederacy, held his last cabinet meeting not far from this marker and fled towards Mexico, leaving behind him a ruined South. I've come to the end of my journey with no car, no money, and only one roll of film. What's worse is that I don't seem to have a real life anymore. My real life has fallen into the crack between myself and my film. I began to feel paralyzed by these speculations when suddenly a news item on the radio snaps me out of my stupor. My old nemesis, Burt Reynolds, is back in town, and I decide that this time I have to find him and film him.
Has he already autographed them?
Yeah.
Oh,
Wait,
I don't
we have plenty of them.
I had hopes of meeting Mr. Reynolds and filming him for a few days and perhaps getting his views on such topics as concepts of masculinity and romance in the South. But his staff decides that Mr. Reynolds doesn't have the time to discuss these matters with me. They do not think it's a good idea for me to be on the set, and they ask me to stand outside the roped-off area with Mr. Reynolds' other fans.
Time off now, or are you all right back to the shop? Going back to the shop.
Travis. Yeah. Oh, really? Excuse me, can I help you?
Yeah, I was just hoping to talk to Mr. Reynolds.
What am I doing?
Yes, sir.
Well, they've asked me to find out who you are and who you're with since you're filming and what they're doing.
Wake up, Devonda.
Got kissed by Burt Reynolds?
Yes.
So did the mother.
So did I. Took me a kiss. I had to. Had to give me a kiss. Devonda, wake up.
Hey, baby.
Wake up.
Oh, she's passed right
Wake
out.
up.
I think Burt just
Come on. Knocked her out cold. That's right. Any kiss like that, knock a baby
Burt
out.
does to all the women.
I'm telling you.
Come on, Devonda, wake up, baby.
He said, control yourself. I couldn't
There we
really,
go,
yeah.
Wake up.
I can't really, I'm speechless right now.
Lady was standing in my way. I was about to knock her down. I had to get up there. I had to. Come on, baby, wake up. Burt Reynolds kissed you. Come on.
When she gets older, she'll hear about it.
She sure will.
It's really
Come on, wake up. You're not going to wake up? Come on. Thank you.
The production staff informs me that I'll be arrested if they catch me on the set again.